Thank you, Laurent, for that very kind introduction. And thank you, of course, to Sinneschrader for having me along to this event as a non-German with a company that doesn't operate in Germany. So I hope you will see by the end why they thought this was worthwhile. So rather than focusing on technology and devices, my presentation is really going to be about the impact that we are trying to have on the world and how we have taken a cross-platform e-commerce website and turned it into something that is transforming a global ancient industry at very large scale. So I'll talk a bit about Just Eat and just introduce the company because I know most of you are not familiar with us in Germany. And then my focus really is going to be about how we've cut through a lot of the noise in our industry and built clear leadership positions in almost all of the markets where we operate. And we've really done that by thinking about what we stand for, what our values are, and how to communicate those in a compelling, different way to the public. So I'm going to start out quite sort of academic and talk about a few numbers and concepts, but by the end we're going to have some men dressed as women. So this is going to get a bit more interesting as we come towards the end, and it's probably a first for the next Berlin event. So. To summarize a few headline numbers around Just Eat and the story so far, I've just put some key numbers up there that go some way to telling the story. So 2001 up there in the corner, that's the year that the company started in Denmark. So we were one of the first, not quite the first, online takeaway marketplace in the world, and we've since grown to be what we think is the largest online takeaway marketplace in the world. £700 million, I'm saying pounds rather than euros because I think it's probably a safer bet these days. £700 million is the, sorry, that was a low blow. £700 million is roughly the order amount that we process through our platform every year from restaurants. So our business model is very straightforward. We take a commission on the total order amount that we process. 8 million is roughly the number of consumers that we have globally who are using our service. 34,000 is the number of restaurants that we have on our platform globally. And 13 is an unlucky number. That's the number of countries that we operate in. So we're fairly global. We operate on 4 continents, and we've grown to be quite a big business, although we still think of ourselves very much as a hungry, lean startup. So I'm going to say a little bit about our strategy and then how that translates into the brand and how we communicate it. But it's important to understand the strategy first to see why the brand and everything makes sense. So what we realize in this industry is it exhibits a lot of the characteristics of winner-take-all online marketplaces. And of course, we've seen a lot of them over the years, the most notable probably being eBay, who, in the late 1990s, people like Yahoo and Amazon were really trying to combat them in online auctions. And they failed despite putting huge resource into it. They failed because online auctions was an example of a marketplace with certain characteristics. And what we've realized over time is that online food delivery shares those characteristics too. So if I can attempt to sort of summarize the academic literature on this in about 30 seconds, there are 3 big characteristics of kind of winner-takes-all online marketplaces. One is the network effect. So it's good for one side of the transaction if there are lots of people on the other side of the transaction. So to put that very tangibly, if you're a consumer looking to buy food on the internet, you'd rather there were 200 restaurants to choose from than 3 restaurants to choose from. So there's that network effect where you benefit from scale. And there's actually sort of same-side network effects as well in our industry where you benefit as a consumer from the fact that there are so many other consumers. So we have one of the world's largest online databases of takeaway restaurant reviews, and that's something which, of course, is very valuable to consumers. So the fact that there are so many consumers also on our platform means that other consumers find the service more useful. So that's the first thing is network effect. The second thing is what the academics call multi-homing costs, which basically means it's a pain to switch. So if you're used to one service, it's saved your credit card, you know how it works, you trust it, you've used it before. It's just hassle as a consumer to have to switch and learn how to figure out another platform. So that's the second thing. And then the third thing is functionality. So these winner-takes-all online marketplaces tend to be cases where there isn't one killer function that one site has that another site doesn't have. So if you think of the eBay example, it's not a particularly beautiful service. There isn't any sort of killer functionality. What made it so compelling to consumers in the early days is simply the fact that everybody was there. So you had huge choice if you were a consumer, and you had a lot of consumers if you were trying to sell something. So those are sort of three characteristics of these winner-take-all online marketplaces. And what we see is that online food delivery, online takeaway marketplaces exhibit those characteristics. And of course, strategically, that has one very clear implication. You want to be the leader in a marketplace. So if you're the leader, the economics look fantastic, and you see increasing returns to scale that never seem to stop. So if we look at what's happened with guys like eBay, or of course Google is another kind of online marketplace for online advertising, the returns to scale and the increased margins just seem to go on as these businesses expand. So you really, really need to be the number one for this to be successful. And that's one of the things that's kept us out of the German market. You've got 4 players here: Pizza.de, Lieferheld, Lieferando, Takeaway.com. You've got 4 players fighting it out. So it's difficult in a context like that to establish that clear leadership position that delivers the great results over time. So that's a bit about the strategy that we're following. The clicker seems to have stopped working. Can you go on to the next slide? Thank you. The thing that's enabled us to establish all these positions, though, of course, it doesn't happen by itself. It's only happened because we've got lots and lots of people around the world who are dedicated and enthusiastic about making it happen. And I think if you asked anyone at Just Eat, what are you really proud about in the company, they would talk about our culture. And they'll talk about a few different things. One is how energetic everybody is in the company and how dedicated we are to our success. So that photo at the top is our World Party, which we hold every year. That was taken, I think, a couple of years ago. We're about to have one in May where there'll be about 600 people in the group. So we literally get the entire company together in one place once a year to, as the name implies, party together and have fun and enjoy each other's company. So it's a tremendously energized, committed group of people. And to operate effectively in an industry like ours, where you have to do so many activities like signing up restaurants in a very repetitive way, having that sort of energetic, dedicated group of people is critically important. And you can see there at the bottom, I think that's Dress Down Friday, bottom right there. You're lucky this presentation isn't on a Friday, otherwise I might have been dressed a bit differently. But we just have a group of people who are dedicated, friendly, informal, and the culture just really works in our particular industry. So the challenge we face is how do you cut through all the noise and stand out and show the consumer that you're something different. Many industries have these sort of advertising cliches. If you think of the shampoo industry, for example, pretty much every bottle of shampoo has a picture of a woman with long brown hair kind of doing this. That's the cliche in their industry. In our industry, in takeaway, the equivalent is what I call the cheesy pizza fetish, which is these photos of, I'm sure you see them all over Germany too, these photos of pizza with cheese coming out the sides. The industry, for some reason, seems to absolutely love this. So great, you've got an industry that's quite unimaginative about how it talks about itself. You want to come along and stand out in that context and become a clear leader and show that you're different. So the question is, how do you do that? And it really happens in 3 stages. So the first is probably the most important. You have to think about what you really stand for. There's no point going out to the consumer with a message that you think is going to work with them based on some focus groups or whatever, but isn't really authentic. You don't really believe yourself. The consumer is going to see right through that. So it's critical that it's an authentic message. The second thing is you want to tell the story to the consumer so that they understand what it is that you're on about. And then, of course, thirdly, everybody's busy. Everybody's got all these brands out there trying to talk to them. you need to keep reminding them about what it is that you stand for and who you really are. So I'm going to take you briefly through how we thought about those three different stages. So we thought at length and really soul searched for a bit about what it is that we stand for. And we thought, fundamentally, why is it that people use takeaway? Is it because they love the pizza or the Indian or Thai food? Is it because they love our website? Why is it that people use takeaway so much? And some people, we have customers who literally use us every single day of the year. So there are people out there who just adore takeaway. And the answer came to us in a flash of inspiration. It's very obvious why people use takeaway. Cooking sucks. We all of us at times, maybe not all the time, but all of us at times don't want to cook. We think cooking sucks. We don't have the time for it. We might not want to do the washing up. We might want to do something more useful instead. And it's important to be clear about why cooking sucks, precisely. So here's our sort of potted summary of the reasons that cooking sucks. So first of all, it's just no one quite understands this one, but it's true. Food tastes better when someone else has cooked it. Is that true? No? No? Yes? Yes. Well, so it's sort of semi-true in Germany. It's definitely true in the UK, but it's sort of semi-true in Germany. Maybe it's because we're such bad cooks. I don't know. Second thing, and this is definitely true everywhere. Time spent cooking can be more usefully spent. You could be attending Next Berlin, you could be watching some interesting blog. I mean, there are so many things you could be doing, I won't list them all, instead of cooking. So it's not the best use of your time. Third thing, very clear and uncontroversial, eating is social, right? Sitting down with your friends, enjoying food, that's a social activity. Cooking is antisocial, like being on your own in the kitchen, playing around with some food. That's not a particularly sociable activity. And finally, what you eat shouldn't be limited to what you can cook, right? I mean, I can cook baked beans on toast and a bit of pasta, but the stuff I eat is enormously varied. I'll have 25 different cuisine types that can be delivered to my house thanks to the Just Eat service. So we decided. Now I can see many of you in the room are nodding at this, and many of you are going, bloody hell, what is this guy on? Cooking is a fantastic thing. I love it. I do it all the time with my friends. And what I'd say to that is, look, sometimes that's true. Of course, we all like to cook, almost all of us like to cook occasionally, but there are times in our busy lives, there are times when you just don't want to do it. And the second thing I'd say is, if your message is universally agreed to, if 100% of people in this room were sitting there going, yeah, he's absolutely right, that's not a very interesting message, is it? You've got to stand for something that's a bit interesting and edgy and not everyone is going to agree to in order to cut through the noise and be what we call a challenger brand. So we decided this was what we stood for. And this was something that resonated very well with our internal culture. And this was something that definitely resonated well with our customers who were ordering takeaway because they didn't want to cook that night. So the question then was, well, how are we going to tell this story and how are we going to keep reminding people of it? And this is where ultimately cross-dressing comes into it. So clip one, please. This is the beginning of how we started to tell this brand story.
The boys is angry because you is cooking all the time. Cooking should be left to professional takeaway chefs like us. Cooking is difficult. Look at this guy. He's bound to muck up the cooking. So, take my advice. Don't cook. Just eat.
Order from local takeaways online.
So, thank you. So that sort of set the stage for us. We introduced this concept of the angry takeaway chefs who are on a mission to stop the world from cooking. And then we thought, where can we go with this? I mean, really, the possibilities are endless, and we're only just starting to explore them. But the second thing we did is we thought, there are all these celebrity chefs out there making a living out of getting people to cook, and it's often really fancy food that takes ages to cook, and it's really annoying to prepare, and it's never quite as good as they say it's going to taste. So let's have our chefs find one of those people and kidnap them. And in the UK, there's a guy called Anthony Worrell Thompson, who's very well known, and he's been on TV for years trying to get people to cook. So we thought, and I wouldn't know who the German equivalent is, but I'm sure there are many. Who's a successful German celebrity chef?
2 minutes, you want to laugh on.
Yeah, okay. so Anthony Worrell Thompson, celebrity chef. We thought, let's have our chefs kidnap him. So here's what we did. Clip 2.
Go, get him! We takeaway chefs are sick of these celebrity chefs that are messing with people's minds, showing them how to cook. That's why we're kidnapping this one. Finesse! Now, if you come this way, please. Thank you very much. Come on, get in the van! What are you doing? The van is the wrong one! God!
I think that's it. And it went on a little bit. This was shown on primetime television. So we're sort of developing the theme of rebellion and these chefs going out and convincing the world not to cook. And then next slide, please. The next thing was we had one of them go into politics. So we actually set up a political party called the Don't Cook Party, and Mr. Mozzarella was our candidate. And if you just flick to the next slide. He stood for Parliament in the Corby by-election and got 73 votes. He actually didn't come last. There were a few people who got fewer votes than him. So we got a lot of publicity out of this. You know, the Don't Cook Party telling people that cooking sucks and just getting that message across. And that's bottom left there is actually Mr. Mozzarella talking to the leader of the opposition, Ed Miliband. So he got involved with sort of serious politicians as well, and that got a huge amount of publicity for this cause of not cooking. And then I'll give you a flavour very quickly of a couple of things we're doing to keep reminding people of this. We're actually sponsoring a TV channel called Dave, and we're doing these 10-second spots on Dave very frequently to just remind people of who we are and what we stand for. So let's have clip 3, please, briefly.
This naughty man insists on cooking all the time, which makes us takeaway chefs very angry! Repair!
And finally, the first ever example at Next Berlin of this is my attempt to address the male-female balance in the room. The first ever example of Next Berlin of cross-dressing. This is one of the other clips that we've done on the Dave channel. Please, clip 4.
Sundays are not for cooking, they're for making love.
Shh, I got a headache.
There you go. Thank you very much. Any questions?